The first 21-year-old rising star, Eric Lopez, in the vault. And then Felix Aguilera, registered at 10 in his specialty, the parallel bars. But the most dramatic moment occurred in the high bar. Jose Tejada missed the 8.5-foot horizontal bar, crashing to the mat. The miss, as he put it, didn't hurt his body, but broke his heart. He did continue on to complete his routine, only to collapse with emotion. The Cuban men went on to set a Pan Am team record in winning the gold, and so tonight, the Alejandro Orjeas Hall in Santiago de Cuba. It's time for the men's all-around, the top 17 all-around gymnasts competing for the gold. And heading into tonight, the top 6 qualifiers looking like this. The Cubans on top: Aguilera, Lopez, Tejada, Trent Dimas, Mike Racanelli, Mark Warburton. That's the top 6, and I'm Gary Bender, and I'm joined by Kathy Johnson along with Bart Connor. Bart, we just put up the top 6 qualifiers, but really we're going to throw all that out now and start from scratch.
And this is actually the first Pan American Games where they've employed these new rules where no scores carry over from the preliminary rounds. But regardless of the rules that you use, Felix Aguilera is the man to beat from Cuba. He's so technically solid and so well trained, and he seems so focused here that he'll be hard to beat. For the Americans, however, Trent Dimas has the style of gymnastics that could do well here. He has a lot of big tricks, and he could ignite this crowd and the judges. If he's good and clean on his weaker events, he could be a factor for the Americans.
Kathy, Bart mentioned the crowd. This crowd absolutely loves the Cuban men's team.
One indication of the excitement surrounding this Cuban men's team is the fact that this crowd was here 2 hours before the start of competition. It's the most expressive crowd I have ever seen. In fact, we saw instances in which the Cuban men got so pumped up by the crowd they overdid tricks and made costly mistakes that will be very costly tonight in the all-around competition.
Let's go now to the competition floor. The first of 6 rotations. Felix Aguilera in the rings from Cuba.
Aguilera opens with a kip to an iron cross in the L position, presses up to a handstand. Now look at the technique he shows. Perfect body line, locked out arm position. Terrific combination. Oh, he's swinging quite a bit. The judges require the gymnast to show swinging elements as well as press elements, like a press to a handstand. Here's one of his swings to a handstand. All he has left is the dismount.
Great, full kick and double back. Excellent landing. He has been so good on all the landings throughout the competition.
He's been so good throughout the competition. He had a 9.7 in the team competition on this routine.
Bart, he has incredible strength moves in this routine.
This is where he got in a little bit of trouble. This sequence here, you notice he had trouble controlling it down to the iron cross position. He picked up a little swing. He'll probably lose maybe 0.2 of a point for the swing in the rings, but he showed terrific control as he continued throughout the rest of the exercise. We mentioned at the top of the show that he is so strong technically. That's a very difficult move, a back uprise handstand at the end of the routine. His arms are perfectly locked out. His body line is terrific. This is the dismount. It's a double back with a full twist. And as you mentioned, Kathy, he really has been rocking those landings.
The top qualifier coming in to the all-around, Felix Aguilera. We mentioned he had a 9.7 in the team competition. He has been very, almost reserved away from the rest of his teammates. Now we're going to go back moments ago to Jose Tejada of Cuba in the pommel horse. He had a 9.9 in the team competition on this event.
And this guy is so much fun to watch. He really rips those circles. And what's most impressive is the body line and the elevation that he maintains above the horse. has long arms, and those long arms remind you of Kurt Thomas. One of the reasons Kurt Thomas from the U.S. team was so terrific on the pommel horse was he had a short midsection and very long arms.
Excellent routine. Beautiful form throughout. Notice the straight legs, pointed toes. Never loses form.
That was on tape. Tejada, tall at 5'8", but doing so well on the pommel horse. Tejada coming up with a score of 9-8 after having a 9-7 in the team competition. So we're underway in the all-around. The Cubans have jumped on top early. 2 9-8s in the first rotation. Lopez and Tejada. Aguilera had a 9-7 on the rings. Dimas 9.65, Racanelli a 9.65, Warburton 9.55. That's the way it stands after one rotation.
This is a critical event for Mike Racanelli because typically the Americans have been a little weaker on the rings, and in Mike's case especially because he underwent surgery about 9 months ago to remove some cartilage and 40% of his bicep tendon. It seems to appear that his strength is back. He shows great control of the rings. Beautiful swing work. 2 front giants right to the handstand, a requirement. Swing to a handstand.
And then the full twist and double back. Very nice routine for Peter.
Racanelli with a 9-4 in the team competition, awaiting his score here. Of course, some of the excitement has been really centering around Eric Lopez, which is coming up in a moment.
There's a lot of strain on the shoulders and the elbows in this sequence here. Kip to an L cross. A lot of pressure on that bicep tendon. It appears that Mike's strength is back, though. He looked really solid on the rings. One of the best routines I've seen him do.
He looks very solid, and what we've noticed throughout the competition, the Cubans are really sticking landings, not giving up tenths of a point. So this is crucial.
Earlier, Eric Lopez, who's already had a perfect 10 in the vault. He's up and going.
Look at this vault. It's a Kazumatsu with a full twist, actually 2 twists in the air.
And ended up being a 9-8 for Eric Lopez. So he's had 2 9-8s and a 10 in the vault thus far.
That is a tough vault, and he does it as easily as I've ever seen it done.
What a contagious smile he has, 21 years old. And now Trent Dimas getting ready on the rings for the United States. Racanelli's score now is a 9-7.
We mentioned at the top of the show that Trent Dimas is a very exciting gymnast. Still rings is a struggle for him, and he'll need to do well here if he hopes to be a factor in the all-around. His big events are the floor exercise and, of course, the fantastic high bar routine that he has and parallel bars. And his vault is terrific, but the pommel horse was his opening event. He did well there, and he'll need to have a solid ring routine if he hopes to be a factor in the all-around. He has a really unusual combination coming up here, invented by a Soviet gymnast, where he's going to twist the rings. You don't see this very often. Here it comes. Twist the rings.
A little bit better than he did in the team competition. He really got twisting.
In the team competition, he scored a 9.55.
Boy, those rings are rock steady. This is a great routine for Trent.
And a double layout. There's that landing. Those are going to be critical in this competition.
So Dimas had a 9.65 on the pommel horse. We'll wait to score here on the rings.
This move was invented by Vitaly Scherbo from the Soviet Union. I always thought it looked like a gymnast being swung around by puppet strings.
He had a little trouble with this in the team competition, but it was much better here. Very difficult to come up square and stop those rings. This is a laid out double back. Look for the straight body, 2 rotations, and most importantly, look at that landing.
He needs a 9.8 to take third in the all-around, a 9.85 to second, and 9.95 to take the lead from the Cubans. He seems to be just gaining more confidence as this competition's gone on.
And this is the kind of situation that Trent really thrives on. He loves a hot, excitable crowd because he has some big tricks.
A 9-8, Bart, for Trent Dimas. The men's all-around unfolding before us. Trent Dimas, after 2 rotations, was tied for 3rd place in the all-around. But he experienced difficulty in the vault here tonight, and it historically goes all the way back to Cincinnati. As you can see, Eric Lopez still has a lead by 1/1500ths over his fellow countrymen Felix Aguilera and Jose Tejada. Dimas, back in Cincinnati in June at the U.S. Championships, suffered this mishap.
Now you'll see in this replay of the vault, the last few steps, he gets messed up, completely misses the vaulting board and the horse. And of course, it was a terrible fall. He was actually unconscious for about 15 seconds and was out lying on the mat for 5 minutes.
Okay, let's catch up. Moments ago, right here in Santiago de Cuba. Bart, you take it.
Well, Trent missed the vault again. This time he missed it on the other side of the vaulting horse. He did a great job at maintaining his composure. You noticed his hand completely slipped off the right side of the vaulting horse, but he kept it together. Take a look at what happens here. He's a little crooked, but more importantly, he drills his hands right into the horse. His right hand slips off. He made a decision to not twist the vault. Boy, that was a scary moment.
And you can actually see here when his hands miss the horse, his head touches the horse.
And then his feet also clip the back of the horse. Boy, scary moment.
As an end result, he posted an 8.75, and of course that just literally knocks him out of the chase for the all-around. So Trent Dimas, experiencing all that difficulty, had been tied for 3rd after 2 rotations and now falls considerably back. And here is a guy who right now is tied for 2nd all around with a 29.25. Felix Aguilera, just 1/1500ths of a point behind Eric Lopez, who has the lead.
And Aguilera had a miss
Aguilera
on
the high bar, where he posted a 9.9 in the team competition.
Aguilera's technique is so strong on the high bar, he uses 3 release moves. He's been completely in control throughout this competition, but he's got a lot of competition from his younger teammate, Eric Lopez, who has some bigger tricks, and Lopez has been right on. Here's the first release move, and the second. Nicely done. There's one more release move here. Back over the bar. Beautiful. Oh, and a little close on the kip. Had to bend his arms.
He just continues to sizzle. Everything he does extremely well.
He got in a little trouble on that high bar routine. The eagle giant swings and a hop pirouette. Here comes the dismount.
Look at the height, way up above the bar. He was actually in a little close to that bar, but managed to pull out a good landing.
Felix Aguilera, 25 years old, from Havana.
This is the one-arm release move sequence. Over the top of the bar to reverse heck, and the second release move back to back. Perfect position. Look at the flex in that bar. Third release move back over the top of the bar once again.
Well, he won the high bar in the '87 Pan Am Games in the individual apparatus, so he is very comfortable there, seemingly comfortable in every event. And now Eric Lopez is getting ready for the high bar. Aguilera score 9.65.
Unfortunately, the crowd doesn't understand that in the middle of that exercise, he bent his arms badly and had to push back out into the giant swing. The crowd here Not understanding, of course, what the judges are up against, he did have an error that was at least 2 to 3/10 of a point deduction.
They have an organized cheering section here. Here's Eric Lopez now to follow on the high bar.
Lopez has a huge move early in his routine. We saw him almost sling off the bar on this the other day.
Right now, he's #1 in the all-around coming into this event.
This is a big moment for him because Aguilera's had a little trouble. Aguilera doesn't seem to be as sharp as he was the 2 previous days. But Lopez will have to hit this first big move coming up right away. Here it comes. Oh, perfect!
He is just the perfect distance from the bar on all those release moves. Way out on that. Double twisting, double back. A lot of difficulty in that routine.
There's the cheerleader. He's leading all the cheers. Well, we'll see Eric Lopez in the Worlds in Indianapolis.
I think he's going to be tough to beat tonight. He is really on. This is the Gaylord 2. Back over the bar. The other day, we saw his right hand rip off the bar, and he barely hung on. Much better tonight.
We saw all the Cubans have quite a bit of trouble in the team competition on the high bar. This is a great angle to see this move. You can really see the precision necessary.
Remember Felix Aguilera earlier this week with was perfect, and he really stole the show. Tonight, it is Eric Lopez. Let's see if the trio of Americans entered in the men's all-around can challenge as we go back to Santiago de Cuba and Gary Bender.
After 5 rotations of the men's all-around, it's all Cuba. The Cubans, 1, 2, 3. Eric Lopez has the lead over Jose Tejada, his fellow countryman. Aguilera in 3rd. The United States cannot medal, but Trent Dimas is leading the way, followed by Doug Warburton. Racanelli right now is tied with Alejandro Peniche of Mexico, battling for 6th. Well, Teahada has been an exciting figure. Remember when he fell? Well, let's go back to rotation 5. He scored on this a 9-8.
He hit the release move right here that he missed the day before, and he did it beautifully. Perhaps the best part of his routine is this incredible work on one arm. One arm sequence there into those eagle giant swings. Now watch this move. A full turn on one arm giant. What power.
A double front with a hat twist. Is he a showman? Holds the eye contact with the judge right there. All through the night he's been like that.
9-8 for Teahada, which moved him into 2nd. Right now with the silver, now ready to go live with the floor exercise. You were talking about how you dress the judge before the high bar.
He walked right over and stood right in front of him, which is unusual. They usually stand at the end of the mat, saluted him, and he was within a foot of him, and then put his arms down and as if to say, I hope I make it this time.
Well, they did. So Tejada right now very close to the gold. His fellow countryman Lopez has 2/10 of a lead on him.
It's been a lot of fun to watch. Faces, emotions, everything all wrapped up in one.
What you have to remember is Eric Lopez has a pommel horse, and you can always have trouble there. That would be his final apparatus here in the 6th rotation.
There's Tejada. Now he approaches the head judge. You can see him off to the side of the floor exercise mat, right up in front of the head judge. He waits there, makes sure he gets eye contact with the head judge, and then moves over to perform his routine. That's unusual.
That is style, let me tell you.
He's kind of a hot dog, Kathy. He's really been milking this crowd here. They love him.
He actually looked up this way at us. Gave us the thumbs up.
The only reason for the delay is he's taking his time. The judges have given him the go signal. Beautiful mount. Double front out of an Arabian.
He always has unique elements in his routine.
The gymnasts have to cover the full floor area. The routine is 50 to 70 seconds long. It's primarily tumbling, of course, but the gymnasts also have to show a strength move, and his strength move is right here. This is a press to a handstand, fulfills that requirement.
They also show elements of balance. It could be a handstand or a scale, like this one right here.
His last tumbling run.
Oh, that's the biggest deduction in the routine.
Tejada very much in the hunt for the gold, and as Kathy and Bart have pointed out, he plays to the audience and plays very effectively. We'll be back with more. Live on the pommel horse. Now he is 4/10 out of the lead for the gold as he comes to the pommel horse.
He made a mistake right in the early part of his routine.
Aguilera also fell. He ended up with a 9.35.
This is hard to believe. Both Aguilera and Lopez make mistakes.
We'll show you Felix's problem he had on the pommel horse after this. A 9.5 on Tejada on the floor exercise as Lopez finishes his. So Tejada may end up winning this thing now with the two having trouble on the pommel horse.
Hard to believe in the last rotation after Lopez and Aguilera both had a fantastic competition. We just assumed Lopez was going to walk away with this. He's wonderful on the pommel horse. He does some single pommel work. Up to the handstand. Show me the mistake.
Lopez needs a 9.3. A 9.3 to pull it out and get the gold. Tense moment for this 21-year-old.
Yeah, that was a real unfortunate break. It's a ½ point deduction. Let's take a look and see what happened. He does a very difficult routine with some wonderful elements. Notice he's working with his hands behind his back there. This sequence here is very difficult. He's going to go around the pommels twice, and he's off balance. Has to break form, do a single leg pickup, and work back into his routine.
He got a 9.5. The score is in on Lopez, a 9.5. He now has a 58.30 total.
9.5 is an impossible score. Only in Cuba would he get a 9.5, because that's a 0.5 point deduction, which means the exercise would have been perfect. Not only did he stop, but he made some errors when he picked back up into his exercise because of the break in rhythm and the break in composition of the routine. So
well, he wins
he got
the gold.
A generous score.
He's got the gold. Tejada in second, and Aguilera will get the bronze. We're going to go back and show Aguilera. He had problems as well on the pommel horse, and how often have we seen that? Here he is, Felix.
He's also terrific on the horse. Let's see where he got in trouble here. Beautiful body line, wonderful elevation above the horse. Looked like he was struggling a little bit during the first part of the routine, but right there he just overdid it on the handstand. That's a really unusual mistake. He went up too fast. And of course fell off, loses a ½ point, and has to pick up from the point where he fell off. And unfortunate mistake. He just got caught overdoing one move.
I am most surprised at Aguilera missing. He has been so consistent throughout the competition, so focused, so aggressive.
This routine is wonderful. He does some terrific work. You have to work all 3 sections of the pommel horse. He travels across the horse here, up to the pommel, across all the way to the other end. Now he's going to break into the Thomas flare and go up to the handstand, and he just cranks it up too high and too fast and can't control it.
So many of the Cubans' mistakes have been overdoing things. I think they're so pumped up and so psyched for this competition. They're just overdoing it.
And so Felix stumbled, as also did Lopez, but Lopez is able to survive it, and he will win the gold. Tejada finishing second, Aguilera in the 3rd position. The big story for the United States right now is Racanelli coming up on the floor exercise. He needs a 9.6 to take the lead for the U.S. Well, I can see you're not very pleased about the judges when you said what you did about Lopez with a 9.5.
Well, he's a wonderful gymnast, but he made a huge error, and although he was probably going to win anyway because Aguilera made a mistake, that score is just plain too high.
Well, I think the other thing that has really been interesting to me is that the Cuban crowd has to intimidate the judges somewhere, doesn't it? I mean, let's talk about that.
I think it would be easy for the judges to get caught up in the enthusiasm and the excitement of the crowd, and they're chanting at each of the Cubans' routines. So I'm sure that they can get a little excited, but I was very surprised at Eric Lopez's score. I don't think it should have gotten a 9.5.
Well, it's a complete sweep as far as the medals are concerned for the Cuban men. As we mentioned, Lopez, 58.30, Tejada, and then also Aguilera. And those 3 guys had the lead from the beginning. They had it coming in as the top qualifiers for the all-around, and they just never relinquished it at all. It's very solid, and the United States having some difficulties trying to stay close, but here he is. He's saying goodbye to everyone here from Santiago de Cuba. He is our gold medal winner, Eric Lopez, the gold medal winner, as Cuba, after winning the gold in the men's competition, has swept the men's all around. 1, 2, 3, gold, silver, and bronze. Round. Her 9.8 in the vault was the highest score posted in the optionals. Teammate Kristen McDermott, in her first international competition, made the all-arounds by posting the highest score overall in the optionals. The 14-year-old, now training in Allentown, Pennsylvania, had a 9.675 in the floor exercise. The American team is captained by Shelley Stack, the only remaining member of the women's 88 Olympic team still competing. Despite a tough night in the optionals, she enters tonight as the 2nd highest qualifier. The warm-ups have begun for the women's all-around. Welcome to the Alejandro Argeas Hall in Santiago de Cuba. We are going to have 4 events in the women's all-around competition: the vault, the uneven bars, balance beam, and floor exercise, with the first rotation just about to begin, and it'll begin on the vault and uneven bars. The top 6 qualifiers led by the Americans, Stephanie Woods, Shelley Stack, and Kristen McDermott. And then Jimenez of Cuba. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bender, along with Kathy Johnson and Bart Connor. Bart, historically, the U.S. women have really dominated the all-arounds.
That's right, Gary. And if you look back over the last 8 Pan American Games, 5 times the U.S. women have swept the gold, silver, and the bronze in the all-around competition. They have a chance of doing that tonight, but there'll be some strong competition from Canada, Cuba, and Brazil.
Kathy, it's really hard to pick a favorite, isn't it?
This competition is really wide open for about 5 or 6 gymnasts that are capable of winning this. There are some important factors here. Tonight's competition is optionals only, which obviously favors the stronger optional gymnast. Secondly, no scores carry over, so they all start from 0, which is good because there were a lot of falls in the previous days of competition, which brings up the 3rd and most important factor, consistency. It's going to come down to which gymnast can hit 4 strong events with no mistakes.
All right, let's go to the competition floor, and we're going to go to the vault. Kristen McDermott will be the first for the United States as they continue to warm up. This is the Canadian that will also be in the competition. That's Jennifer Wood. The United States coming in here with the top 3 qualifiers. I tell you, McDermott really did a great job in the optionals. She came on very strong to get into the all-arounds.
She actually had the highest optional all-around score of the entire competition. And that's going to be critical in tonight's competition because, as I said, it's optionals only.
So Kristen ready to go now. They'll have 2 vaults, and they will take the best of the 2.
This is a great rotation. It's the Olympic order for Kristen. She starts on vault, then goes to bars, balance beam, and floor exercise. This is a good event to start on. It's not like the balance beam or the uneven bars where sometimes nerves can get in the way and you have to really control your adrenaline. Here she can go all out and concentrate on sticking the landing.
A 14-year-old is ready to go.
She does a round-off entry vault. It's called a Yurchenko. Lead out with a full twist. I have seen her do that vault much better than that before. She didn't have a lot of height, and as you could see, she really had to pipe down in the air to make the vault.
What did she tell us? She likes to collect weird pencils, porcelain dolls, and stickers.
Let's see what happens here. She kind of drilled it onto the horse. Her hands and arms were bent as she went into the horse, and as you mentioned, Kathy, she really didn't get the push that she would like to have had for the post flight.
She was actually on the short end of the horse. You can see right here on the front end, it's really hard to get a lot of push there. So she'll certainly want to improve on that first vault. In women's gymnastics, you can do 2 vaults. They can be the same, and the best score of the 2 counts.
Well, she's having to wait now for the judges to come up with her score on the vault, and that's been a problem we've had through the entire competition.
She works in the Parkettes program down in Allentown, Pennsylvania with Bill and Donna Strauss. Her coach who's here with her is Robin Netwall, and she said that Kristen has been having some trouble on the vault.
Stephanie Woods, the top qualifier, coming into the all-arounds.
This is a critical event for Stephanie. She had a little trouble with this during the optional portion of the team competition. These bars are quite a bit different than she's used to in the United States. They're very bouncy, very slow, and you have to wait on every single element because the timing is just a little different.
She had a 9-1 earlier in the competition to just substantiate what you were saying.
She also had a fractured growth plate in her wrist, and apparently that is giving her some trouble on this event.
This is a real surprise. We're having a conference on the vault.
We should have counted the number of conferences in this competition. I think it would have been a Pan Am record.
So Kristen is having to wait over there, and Stephanie Woods also waiting as she's getting ready to go now on the uneven bars.
Now the element early in her routine is the part that is the critical part. Coming up right here. Stalled her. She's made the first move. Free hip hop. Perfect. Right on the money. And a Jaeger front. You would never know she was having trouble with that. She does a pike double back dismount. Right here. A beautiful routine. This is a strong start for Stephanie because, as I said, she only scored a 9.1 on this in the optional. So I know she's excited with this.
Kathy, the most impressive part of that routine was the fact that she took her time. She wasn't anxious. And we noticed a couple of days ago in training that many of the women were having trouble, as you mentioned, adjusting to the bars because they're very bouncy. But boy, this sequence here, look at the handstand as she changed her grip. Free hip right there to the top. Here's the Jaeger. It's a straddle front flip, and she caught exactly where she wanted to be.
Look at her form. Those long legs look so great on this event, and they're always so straight, toes perfectly pointed. She never gives up tenths of a point for form deductions. And the dismount is a pike double back. Very nicely done.
Well, Kristen McDermott is still waiting, believe it or not, for her score on her first vault. Stephanie Woods will wait for her score on the uneven bars as the women's all-around is underway. She scored that in the vault. And then we have a tie for second between Lynn Flurry of Canada and Shelley Stack of the United States, both with 9.7s. Flurry's in the vault and Stack's in the bars. And Stephanie Wood, you might recall the last time we were with you, we had her routine on the uneven bars. She scored a 9.55. She is now in the 7th position, and 12th is Kristen McDermott as she posted a 9.375 in the vault. And here is the U.S. team. You can see Trent Dimas along with Mike Racanelli setting up above. 14 women qualified for the women's all-around, 17 for the men. Trent Dimas was in the all-around last night for the men, but Luisa Parente of Brazil has created a little bit of a stir here thus far in the women's all-around. She is the leader.
She started off on the vault, which is a very strong event for her. Scored a 9.725 there. This is a good event for her, surprisingly, because of her height. Normally that's a disadvantage on the uneven bars, but she handles it very well.
She scored a 9.8 in the optional session on the uneven bars the other day, so we could be in for a treat here.
In this rotation, we have two apparatus, uneven bars and beam.
Nice front giant work. Here's her release move, a Jaeger front. She also has a second release move coming up right here. It's called a Delcha. It's a half twist into a front somersault. Again, nicely done. Very strong, aggressive swing. High tuck double back dismount and a very good landing.
She needs a 9.6 to stay on top. Earlier, Stephanie Woods was on the beam. We're going to go back and capture that for you.
Stephanie really was at a disadvantage. She had to go second up of the entire competition on the uneven bars and first up on the balance beam. Of course, scores tend to build as the rotation goes on. That's what the disadvantage is.
She had a 9.775 in the optionals on the beam. That was the highest of any woman.
Here's the most critical pass in the routine. It's two back handsprings to a layout. Right on the money. This is an event where she can really use her long legs, long arms to her advantage. The lines are long and beautiful. I'm very impressed with the way she's handling the pressure here. She's very new to international competition. We've said this before, it's a very difficult place to compete. It's very loud. Here's a dismount, a round off, tuck, double back. And a very nice landing. Great routine for Stephanie.
That was 9.775 now. Shelly Stack on the uneven bars.
This is the part she missed in the optionals of the team. Front somersault right on the money there. Great. Giant full pirouette, setting up for her dismount. And a tuck double back. She got a little bit off on that one giant, actually hit the low bar.
Luisa Parente from Brazil had a 9.775. She needed a 9.6, as we said, to keep the lead, so she's still in first. Shelly Stack finishing strong there.
Shelly really is very aggressive on the bars. This is the Jaeger front flip, a piked front flip, and a great transition to the low bar. One of the things that's impressive to the judges is that she really rips through these giant swings. Great body position. She's quick.
By 0.15 of a point. And for the United States, Shelly Stack and Stephanie Woods are just behind her. Lynn Flurry of Canada not too far behind. The top three less than 0.2 of a point off of the pace. Luisa Parente, the veteran Shelly Stack, when you were last with us on the uneven bars, was given a 9.65, and now here comes Parente, 19 years old.
Luisa certainly started out on her two strongest event, the vault and the uneven bars. And this is an event she had a lot of trouble in the option. She only scored an 8.65 in the team competition. So this is a critical event for her.
You're wondering that music in the background is the floor exercise going on simultaneously with the beam.
Here's your most difficult pass. Round off, layout, pike. somersault. Just one slight balance break. That's a sizable deduction there. 2 to 3/10 off for losing her balance. Here's the dismount. Down off double bat. Oh, no.
Remember, though, she only needs a 9-3 to stay on top, but she's not going to be happy with that routine.
It's going to be very difficult to get a 9.3. Here's her first tumbling pass, round off, lay out pike. Just a very slight balance break there. Here is the biggest deduction. Dismount is a round off double back. It's in tucked position, but right here she's short. She has to put her hands down. That's a fall.
Parente, the veteran of the Brazil team, #1 ranked in that country. She was in the World Championships in '89. 19 years old. She's a large gymnast, 5'5", 123 pounds. So Parente needed a 9-3, as we mentioned, to stay on top as we're in our third rotation here in the women's all-around. This is Georgina Bonitez. This is earlier, the Cuban.
We have really enjoyed watching her in this competition. So much personality.
Bonitez is considerably down as far as the standings are concerned, but we're getting ready to watch Shelley Stack, who will be coming up on the beam, and of course she's just 0.15 of a point behind Parente coming into this third rotation.
And a tucked double back. She really has a nice future. Right now she's a little weak in terms of physical strength.
The coach of the Cuban team down here, Renee Sanson, has done a terrific job with these young ladies. He has a whole stable of young women with fantastic amount of talent.
It's too bad they're all too young to go to the World Championships in Indianapolis in September. Therefore, they can't even qualify for the Olympic Games. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more, though, from this team.
Bonitez was given a 9.525 on the floor exercise, much better than Jimenez, who had a 9.225, and here goes Shelley on the beam. This is a big moment for her.
This is also a critical event for Shelley. She had a fall here in the team competition. Surprisingly, Shelley actually had 2 falls. She had a fall on the uneven bars and a fall here, but the judges really like her. She's scoring very, very well. If she can stay solid throughout the competition, she'll stay right up there.
Kathy, she had a 9.475 in the optionals.
And that was with a fall.
Shelley has changed gyms 8 times in her career. 3 times she's been in and out of Bella Caroli's program down in Houston.
Parente had a 9.2. So here's an excellent chance now for Shelley to overhaul her and take the lead in this third rotation.
Now Shelley Chains of Cypress Academy with Debbie Kaichuk.
She has a unique style on the balance beam. She's very aggressive, very quick movement. Opened up with a strength move called a reverse plunge. Here's her critical pass. It's 2 back handsprings into a layout pike somersault. Right here. Very nicely done. You can see her movement very crisp, very quick on the balance beam. This is a very tough pass. Front somersault immediately into a back tuck. There's the front. And she left it out. Probably a smart move. She was a tiny bit off on that front. Sometimes in international competition, when the gymnasts perform on the podium, the balance beam can be very shaky up on that podium. You have to adjust to that. I think that's why we've seen some falls. Round up double back. Good landing.
She needs a 9.45 to take the lead. Is it there?
I think it's possible.
Shelley Stack on the beam. Strong performance. Has a chance to take the lead. Has taken the lead in the women's all-around. We're still in the third rotation. She had a 9.575 in the beam.
The dismount was just beautiful. Tuck double back. Watch this landing. Right in there.
So now her teammate Stephanie Woods ready to go in the floor exercise. Now she needs a 9.6 to tie Shelley for the lead at the end of this third rotation. Boy, it's taken a long time. It's been an arduous process here to get the judges to come up with the results. This young lady's been standing seemingly forever.
And the scores have been quite unpredictable. Shelley Stack the other day fell off the beam and scored a 9.475. Today she hit her routine perfectly and got only a 9.575. A fall usually is 0.5 of a point deduction.
Now Stephanie Woods in the optionals in the floor had a 9.35.
This is probably Stephanie's weakest event, not because of her dance. Her tumbling is a little weaker than some of the top gymnasts in the competition. But if she really hits, she is capable of a higher score.
Giordani of Argentina, that was her score, a 9.4. So Stephanie now is ready to go. This being the last routine here in rotation number 3.
You hear the whistles from the crowd. They don't like the fact that the scores are coming up too late either.
I don't either.
She opens with a whip back into a tuck double back.
Again, she needs a 9.6 to tie Shelley.
Preparing for her last tumbling run. Most important here, she must stick the landing. She doesn't have the big tumbling passes that she can rely on a big score with. Whip back into a double twist. A little low on the landing, but no steps.
A 9.6 would pull her into a first place tie with 1 rotation to go. That's much better than what we saw in the optionals. She hit everything much, much firmer, didn't she, on her landings?
Being congratulated there by Cheryl Jarrett, one of her coaches down in Austin. And as you mentioned, Kathy, her tumbling, the level of difficulty in her tumbling is not that high, but she does tumble very cleanly, and her landings were excellent. It'll be interesting to see what the judges do with this routine, because she needed a higher level of difficulty overall, but the total presentation was lovely. Tumbling was adequate.
This was the weakest of her tumbling passes. It's a whip back due to a double twist, and you can see when she lands, she has to pike down, so her chest is a little low. That'll be a slight deduction.
We have a tie for first after 3 rotations between Shelley Stack and Stephanie Woods. We mentioned that Stephanie needed a 9.6 on the floor exercise to move into a tie for first, and that's exactly what she got, a 9.6. And now heading to the vault, Shelley Stack will be on the floor exercise. Luisa Parente of Brazil is in the 4th position, and she's ready to roll right now on the floor exercise. So it's very tight in the run for the medals.
And she dropped to 4th because of a fall on the balance beam. Lisa is 19 years old, 5'5". Very, very tall for a gymnast. Full twisting double back. Very powerful tumbler.
It's interesting, when we first saw her a few years ago make her move on the international scene, she was almost a foot shorter than she is now, and all that growth, and she still is a wonderful gymnast.
Coming into this now, she's .10 out of first place. That shows you how tight it is.
Another high tumbling pass. The judges are looking for the amplitude on those passes. Good, clean landings. It's very expressive choreography. Really uses her arms nicely.
She needs a 9.075 to tie for the lead. So she doesn't need a lot out of this, but of course that depends on what Stephanie and Shelley will do later.
With the double twist, not one of the most difficult tumbling passes to end with, particularly at this level. But the first two tumbling passes were very nicely done. It's nice choreography.
Rio de Janeiro in Brazil.
Her opening tumbling run was a full twisting double back. There's a full in the first flip and a tucked back flip, almost a piked back flip in the second flip. And her final run, as you mentioned, Kathy, is a back flip with a double twist. She keeps her body laid out and makes two twists. Strong finish.
Luisa Parente of Brazil. Shelley Stack is coming up next as we await the score on Parente. Shelley Stack in the optionals had a 9.625 in the floor exercise.
She performed one of the best floor routines she's done in quite a long time. She's been having some trouble with the first tumbling pass, which obviously will be the crucial segment of her routine here.
You would figure, though, Stephanie Woods really is in a good position. Coming up on her best event as she awaits all this.
She's in a great position. She has an exceptional vault. Very capable of coming up with a big score there.
And she gets 2 tries to do it. In the all-around competition, the women do 2 vaults, and they take the best score of the 2.
So the drama building. Parente waiting on her score. Shelley Stack wanting to go on the floor exercise, and Stephanie Woods waiting to attempt her vault later here in this 4th and final rotation. Shelley standing and waiting, tied right now with Stephanie Woods for the lead. So the gold medal far from being decided as we come right down to the final rotation of the women's all-around. While we were away, a big moment in the vault for Stephanie Woods. She needed a 9.6 to take the lead in the women's all-around, and this is her second vault.
This was a beautiful vault. Yurchenko laid out with a full twist. Look at the body position. And just one little hop on the landing.
And that ended up being a 9.675 and propelled her into the lead. Now, Shelley Stack, when we were last with you, was on the floor exercise. She posted a 9.6. She temporarily had the lead. Now, this young lady from Argentina, Romina Plataroti, needs to score a 9.8 to tie Stephanie Woods for the lead. 9.825
for the win.
That is a giant score. Very tough to get here. Especially opening with the double pike. She really needs a little more difficulty in this routine. Quite a presence for a young gymnast. Very dramatic.
We mentioned she needed 9.825 for the win with a couple of little bobbles, and a triple twist was a good dismount. That was actually the best tumbling pass in her routine. The rest of the routine didn't have a lot of difficulty.
And so you assume that Stephanie Woods is going to hang on to the gold after this?
We feel pretty strongly that although it was a lovely routine, didn't have the stuff to get a score of a 9.825 or better.
Her first pass was a pike double back, which led us to believe the level of difficulty would just go down from this point on. It was a nice landing. Right here we can see if she went over the line. Of course, there will already be a deduction for the slight bobble on the landing. Let's see if she goes out. Oh, it's hard to see. It looks like it's right over the line, though. I think that was probably a deduction.
Plataroti.
Her last tumbling run, she went for a triple twist. Didn't quite make it around, but this is a gutsy move at the end of the routine. Good job.
"14 years old from Argentina." Well, Plataroti's hung in there tough. Shelley Stack had a 9.6 in the floor exercise. And here it is.
This first pass is the one she usually has to sweat. It's a piked double back with a full twist on the first somersault. And look at that, pulled it right around. This is a very high energy floor routine, which makes it very difficult in terms of endurance to finish strong.
Yeah, she goes non-stop, doesn't she? Most gymnasts build in rest stops. Looks like she doesn't even have a chance to catch her breath.
Her middle tumbling pass is coming up. It's really a lot of fun. She does a 2.5 twist. Watch this. She'll do a 2.5 twist and then punch into a front somersault and tumble right back in the other direction. That's fun. Here's where she had just a little bit of trouble. She's doing a double back. Just barely pulled it around, had a stumble on the landing. It's just a close competition.
So that was a 9.6. Now, Plataroti had a 9.6 as well on the floor exercise, so that moves her into the bronze. She is third, but here is the gold medal winner, Stephanie Woods. She was the top qualifier coming in. She held on to win a score of 38.60. Shelley Stack wins the silver with a 38.525, and then Plataroti with the bronze. It's been a long time, I think, since Argentina has captured a medal. And so there are the results.
And a wonderful day for Stephanie Woods in only her second international competition. She was really very well poised.
Very impressed by the way she competed all throughout the competition, through team and now the all-around.
So Stephanie Woods with the gold, and the United States didn't get the sweep that they've had so many times, but they did.
Individual apparatus is brought to you by McDonald's, and welcome to the Alejandra Urgeas Hall, where the competition has gotten underway in the first event, the floor exercise. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bender, along with Kathy Johnson and Bart Connor. We've had a really interesting and very busy week here in Santiago de Cuba. We're going to go back and capture what has happened in the men's and women's gymnastics competition. It's been exciting. 2 perfect 10s. The Cubans have been explosive, and the women did very well for the United States. It all began with the men's team compulsories. The highlight provided by Eric Lopez's 10 in the vault.
And boy, he just sailed out of the sky, nailed the landing.
On Monday night, another perfect 10 was registered by yet another Cuban, Felix Aguilera, in the parallel bars.
Aguilera capped off a technically complex routine with an effortless dismount and a great landing.
The aggressive, explosive Cuban team then moved on to the high bar. First up, Mourinho. Mourinho missed on this routine and crashed to the floor. The Cuban legend, Casimiro Suarez, landed on top of the bar. And then Jose Tejada provided the most dramatic moment of the week. He didn't connect with the 8.5-foot high bar. The fall, as he put it, didn't hurt his body, but broke his heart. He was able to finish his routine, but his face told it all. The Cuban men went on to set a Pan Am team record score in winning the gold. In the women's competition, a new star started to emerge for the United States. Stephanie Wood scored a 9.8 on the vault.
Stephanie showed her usual impeccable form and solid technique on this full twisting vault.
Tiny 12-year-old Leonette Gonzalez of Cuba captured everyone's heart as she attempted to perform with an injury.
And as you can see, she had trouble generating the power to execute that very difficult tumbling pass. Just 4 days before the start of competition, she pulled a groin muscle.
The American women won the gold for the 7th time in 8 Pan Am competitions. In the men's all-around, Trent Dimas, the U.S.'s best hope, gave us a real scare.
His right hand actually slipped off the horse. Luckily, he was okay.
21-year-old rising star Eric Lopez performed consistently to win the gold. It was a Cuban sweep in the all-around.
He just continued to dazzle the judges with his high-flying difficulty.
Last night in the women's all-around, Shelley Stack and Stephanie Woods battled head-to-head for the gold. Stack momentarily had the lead on her last routine, the floor exercise. Stephanie Woods' last apparatus was her specialty, the vault. Her 9.675 gave her the gold, her first international victory ever. Shelley Stack captured the silver. So this catches us up to date, and let's go back moments earlier. Mike Racanelli, the Ohio State graduate, the NCAA champion of the floor exercise in 1990, on the floor competing.
And Mike opened up with a beautiful laid-out double backflip. He's a very powerful tumbler. Did a great job for the U.S. team.
A 9.75 for Racanelli. That gives him the early lead in the floor. Brought to you by McDonald's. This is Luis Lopez from Mexico, who competes collegiately at the University of New Mexico. We're in the 3rd rotation, the rings.
This, of course, is the individual event finals, just the top 8 in each individual apparatus. Judges look for the gymnast to do swing to handstand, press to handstands, and of course a big dismount. Well done by Luis Lopez.
Just before Lopez, Mourinho of Cuba ignited this crowd. Now the Cubans have loved their native countrymen as we look again at Luis Lopez.
This was the best section of his routine, showing a combination of swing elements, finishing in the handstand, a requirement.
It's taken so long for the judges to come up with the scores. It has waited so long from rotation and routine, and Luis Lopez now in that mode right now. When we were with you the last time, Mike Racanelli of the United States was on the floor exercise, and we're very happy to report that he won the first gold for the men in gymnastics competition. He had a 9.75. There it is, Racanelli. Mourinho with the silver. Trent Dimas had the bronze. That's the rest of the field. That is the first rotation of the floor exercise. Second rotation, the pommel horse. Jose Teahada had a 9.8. That's the 3rd Cuban gold thus far for the men in the competition. Felix Aguilera, a 9.75, and Dominic Minicucci, a 9.7, winning the silver in the pommel horse, which brings us up to the 3rd rotation. And we want to go back to the Mourinho rings routine. This will be an outstanding performance, and the crowd was ignited.
And Gary, this is one of the best ring routines I've seen in a long time. Mourinho shows an unbelievable sequence of strength elements. He does a kip. That move there is the iron cross. Now watch this. He presses out of the iron cross all the way up to an inverted iron cross. swings to a handstand, showing great control of the rings. Another inverted iron cross. Now watch this move coming up. Again, this is to a Maltese iron cross. The most strength I've seen in a ring routine in a long time.
We've certainly been impressed with his technical ability. He's so technically sound.
Dismount, a laid out double back. Perfect landing.
And Mourinho with a 9-9, and that'll be tough to beat here in the third rotation of the rings. Luis Lopez a moment ago with a 9-5. Bob Stelter, the University of Nebraska, at a 9-6-2-5.
I cannot tell you how hard this strength sequence is. From the cross, look at, he pulls up, presses to a handstand, and then to an inverted iron cross.
Notice how straight the handstand position is. How still he keeps the rings.
There's his third strength move, the inverted iron cross. And then this combination, a Maltese cross, lowering all the way down level with the rings. 4 big-time strength moves.
The dismount is a double layout. Look at the beautiful laid-out position, and of course that landing can't be...
Welcome back to Santiago de Cuba, Brent, as we are still in the third rotation rings and our gymnastics brought to you by McDonald's, as Chris Burley of Canada now on the rings.
The Canadians brought a junior team to this competition here, and this young man is a specialist on the floor exercise, but, oh, looks like he fell out of the handstand.
He's also picked up quite a bit of swing there in the rings.
Every time the rings take a full swing, the judges deduct 1/10 of a point, but you'll notice he killed his swing on one of those giant swings well and did a good dismount, but that's going to hurt him a lot because he had a mistake early in the routine.
Two-time junior national champ. Any performer who gets a perfect 10 performance, McDonald's will donate $1,000 to his or her Olympic training fund, all a part of McDonald's helping Olympic dreams come true, as we look again at the replay on Chris Burley.
He does a shoot to a handstand. You'll notice he arched there and fell out, tried to cover up with a move called a back up rise to an L position, but he picked up swing in the rings. The rest of the exercise was real clean. There's a double back with a full twist and a good landing.
Two-time junior national champion is Chris Burley. In the pommel horse, we're going to go back and show you Jose Tejada's winning performance. This guy has been exciting the entire competition.
He really is fun to watch, and particularly on the pommel horse where he swings very aggressively. Look how high his hips are above his hands on the pommels, and when his hands are down on the leather. Travels all the way across the horse. The judges require the gymnast to work all 3 sections of the horse. This sequence here is called single leg work. It's a requirement. It's very aggressive, right up to the handstand, a powerful finish.
580 gets those legs up there very high. That was a 9-8. As Victor Cologne now is on the rings, he's out of Puerto Rico. He's their top gymnast. He'll be going to the Worlds in Indianapolis.
Once again, the judges require the gymnast to show strength work as well as swing work. There's a good strength move. And another one, an L cross, down, up to an L, and then back down to an iron cross. Oh, there's a nice move. A straddle within the rings. Stoyan Delchev from Bulgaria was the first to do that.
And a double, full twisting double back. Nice routine. He got into some trouble into the middle part of the routine. Had some form deductions. You could see the legs bend.
Cologne is 19 years old, from San Juan, 5'8", 139 pounds.
Here's the dismount again. It's a full twisting double back. There's a half twist in the first somersault and a half twist in the second.
Victor Cologne of Puerto Rico.
Here's another look at that dismount. 2 flips, and he keeps his legs tucked. Very good job on the landing, but as you mentioned earlier, Kathy, a couple of problems early on in the routine. And the Puerto Ricans brought a younger team here. And these guys are here to gain some experience, and this is a very valuable experience for them here in Canada. He shows terrific underbar work. And notice the nice, clean body line. Watch the sequence coming up here.
Just gorgeous, Bart.
Very intricate elements and a perfect dismount.
And with that performance, the second 10 that we've had. Eric Lopez had a 10 in the compulsories in the vault, and now a 10 for Aguilera here in the parallel bars.
A well-deserved 10, too. The exercise was so clean. He reminds me of Vladimir Artyomov from the Soviet Union. Great body line. He never hurries. Everything is topped off in the handstand.
And I've watched this combination done all week just like this. The Diamond-off and a quarter, right to the Healy turn and a backstrip. Gorgeous.
And the dismount, just the way you want to see it, drops out of the sky.
Aguilera wasn't the only gymnast to receive a standing ovation from the capacity crowd in San Diego. In one of the most emotional moments of this or any competition, Jose Tejada felt the agony of defeat.
Comes his release.
Oh, I can't believe it.
He can't either.
I don't know if he's hurt or just upset. Oh.
Oh.
What a shame.
You know, he's married. He has a 5-month-old daughter. I know they're here. The disappointment.
He has had such a great competition.
In the men's floor exercise, it was reported that Mike Racanelli of the U.S. had won the gold, but after a 30-minute review of the videotapes, they decided that Racanelli and Damon Merino would share the gold medal. But there have been pockets of success for the Americans.
Top 8 compete. The gold medal winning American team, led by all-around champion Stephanie Woods, perform in their best events. I'm Rob Doolittle. It's the women's individual apparatus finals. We're in the second event, the uneven bars. The vault already has been completed. These are the results thus far. Plataroti from Argentina with a 9.6, Cardoza of Brazil, and Jennifer Wood of Canada. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bender, along with Kathy Johnson and Bart Connor. Well, I tell you, Bart, the judging's going a lot quicker today than it did yesterday for the men.
And when you look back on the history of the Pan American Games, the judging has been unpredictable at best. But today it's the women's individual event finals, which means the top 8 in each apparatus. It's the best performing at their best. No scores carry over from the preliminaries, so it's a great opportunity for the Americans to win some medals today.
Kathy Johnson, the American women have fared very well thus far. In fact, Werowski we're looking at right now, she got a silver in the vault. How do you think they'll do the rest of the day?
I think they'll continue to do well. There's 5 Americans competing in today's competition, and the event finals are a lot of fun to watch. The pressure of the team competition and the all-around is behind them, so they can really go all out, and I think we'll see some great gymnastics.
Well, we're going to go to Werowski as she is on the uneven bars. As we mentioned, already has a silver in the vault. Anybody in this competition gets a perfect 10 performance, McDonald's will donate $1,000 to Olympic Training Fund, all a part of McDonald's helping Olympic dreams come true. So Ann is up. She scored a 9.662 in the vault to get the silver. That's Mary Werowski. We talked to her last night. She had a tough time getting here.
It's funny, she said she knew Ann was going to be a great gymnast. When she was 18 months old, she found Ann hanging upside down from the kitchen table and took her right to a gymnastics class.
She said she's been always a show-off, too. So here she's ready to go now.
She has one big skill in this routine. It comes up early on. She first does a full pirouette right here, and then sets up for the skill. It's a reverse heck in the opposite direction. Very nice. Oh, no! I don't believe it. She made the big skill, and just on the easy transition move down to the low bar, her hands ripped off the bar. That's 0.5 of a point deduction right off the bat. Here comes her dismount. It's a pike double. Oh, no, what a shame. She's our junior national champion this year. And so many people are expecting great things from this gymnast. She's set up for it just perfectly. Watch the full pirouette on top of the bar. This half pirouette goes right to handstand. There's her release move. Now, let's see what happens here. Her hands are on the bar, but her arms are bent. So as she reaches the bottom of the swing, it just pulled her hands right off the bar.
Let's see, Kathy, if we can take a look on this dismount. Obviously, she got herself back together and finished well, but as you mentioned, it's a major break early in the routine.
Werowski already has a silver today, not having a good time here in the uneven bars. We'll be back with more competition here from the women's individual apparatus. Stephanie Woods, a 16-year-old from Austin, Texas. After leading the American women to the team gold, she captured the all-around competition, her first international victory ever. Stephanie impressed the judges with her long, fluid swings and technical precision. On the beam, she was very calm, smooth, and poised. Her tumbling looked effortless. She reacted to her success this way.
Well, I'm very happy about winning because I've been training real hard over the past weeks for this meet to make my routines as perfect as I could so I could have a good meet. And so I stuck every routine, and so I'm real pleased with that.
Today, Stephanie competes in the vault and beam in the women's individual apparatus finals. Welcome back to the Alejandro Harris Hall and our gymnastics coverage presented by McDonald's. It's the women's individual apparatus finals. We have moved now to the third event, which is the beam. I'm Gary Bender again with Kathy Johnson and Bart Connor. Well, the American women have 2 more medals today.
They have certainly done very well. Ann Werowski got a silver medal on the vault, doing very well. Unfortunately, Stephanie Woods there doesn't have a strong second vault, so she didn't medal. And on the uneven bars, Ann had an unfortunate miss there, but Hillary Anderson was wonderful and won a silver medal.
Bart, let's look now, thus far, what's happened in the vault. Luisa Parente with the first of 2 golds today, and then Werowski with the silver, Jennifer Wood of Canada with the bronze. And we moved ahead to the second event, the uneven bars. There's Parente on top again. Quite a story at 9.775. Hillary Anderson from the United States and Merino Flurry, they tied for second. We're going to go back to Parente on uneven bars. She is so large at 5'5.5".
This is a very nice routine. She's the only gymnast in the competition performing 2 release moves. We'll see them here. The first one is called a Jaeger front. Watch the height from the bar right here. Way up in the air. Second release move is called a Delchev. It's right here, a half twist into a front somersault. Full pirouette, got a little bit off there. But what a great routine.
By the way, Werowski scored a 9.225 on the uneven bars. This is Merino Flurry. We just talked about the fact she tied for second in the uneven bars. She's from Canada, 16 years old. This is not her favorite event, the uneven bars is. Her sister, by the way, just got married and is honeymooning here in Cuba. Can you believe that?
That was a nice surprise because she had hoped to qualify for the World Championship team, and all the plans were made around that. And when she didn't make it and ended up coming here, her sister changed all her plans to surprise her.
She speaks fluent French. In fact, Kathy, when you interviewed her, you had to have an interpreter to get the English through.
Exactly. She actually scored very well on this event during the team competition. She scored a 9.75. She had a little trouble in the all-around, so she can be somewhat inconsistent on this event. difficult. The first pass out, and it's a fall, 0.5 of a point deduction.
Keep in mind the judges are looking for acro moves. They're looking for dance elements. Combinations of acro and dance elements.
This event really takes nerves of steel and the ability to control the adrenaline. That step out, very nicely done. It's funny, oftentimes you'll see a gymnast, they'll have a fall early on in the routine, then they'll settle down and do the rest of the routine as well as they've ever done. There's already been a 9.7 posted by Gonzalez. She went up first. Tuck double back.
Flurry from Montreal here in the beam.
Introducing a car so intelligently engineered.
Santiago de Cuba. We have some results thus far in the beam. As you're looking now at the action from the beam, we have Gonzalez leading with a 9.7 thus far. Carvalho, Brazil, a 9.175. Milan Flurry, who fell off, a 9.125. So Gonzalez from Cuba leading. As Portocarrero of Guatemala moments ago on the beam, we're watching her. This is Luisa Portocarrero. She trains with the Canadians and lives there.
She is just beautiful on this event. You can see her flexibility, her smooth arm movement. She's doing very well so far. Here's the dismount, 2 back handsprings to a double back. 1 step on the landing, but the rest of the routine is wonderful.
Now we're going to go to one of our favorite people in the competition, 12-year-old Gonzalez. She has won the hearts of everyone. We're going to go back and watch moments ago on the beam.
Interesting story about this young lady. She'll be too young to compete in the 92 Olympic Games, which means she'll have to wait for a shot in 96. Can you imagine waiting 5 years for a 12-year-old? That must be like eternity.
Thus far, this is the best routine. She got a 9.7.
She opened with a back handspring layout, just a slight balance break there. We were really disappointed when 4 days before the competition, she pulled her groin muscle, and it really affected her competition. She didn't even qualify for the all-around, and in fact, couldn't even perform on the vault. She just went down, touched the horse in order to get a score, and we now know why they did that, so she could compete here in place of her teammate, Indira Hernandez. Beautiful switch lead right into a layout step out. A nice combination pass. Very well developed for a 12-year-old. All her skills are technically sound. She has nice form, good flexibility. This is really the only point in the routine that groin muscle could give her a little trouble. She did it very well.
Very well indeed. She still has the lead, 9.7. Well, we were mentioning all the emotion that's centered around this 12-year-old. She was competing in the floor exercise extremely under a lot of pain. Now watch this.
Well, remember what her injury is. It's a groin muscle pull, which also affects the quadriceps. She was having trouble running, which obviously affected the vault and this event here. And you can really see on her face, this hurts.
Remember back in '72 with Olga Korbut, people loved her for her acrobatic daring, but when they really fell in love with her was when she had problems. And we've seen the same thing happen here to Leonette.
Well, she was an alternate coming in. Indira Hernandez was to compete here in the beam. They scratched her and moved Leonette in, and we're pleased that they did because it's nice to see her one more time. We're having a conference right now, and that seems to be the word here as far as the judges are concerned. We've had terrible delays, especially yesterday in the men's individual apparatus. In fact, it took us over 4 hours to complete 6 rotations, but today it's been moving pretty smoothly, Bart.
Yeah, and of course, the judges get together when the scores are out of range. In this case, the high and the low is thrown out, and the score is in the middle. If the middle scores are out of range, and at this high end, those scores have to be very close, the judges get together and discuss perhaps some of the technicalities that perhaps were missing.
Well, what's holding everything up is we wanted to see Stephanie Woods of the United States. She's standing by, but she's going to have to wait.
Well, the controversy continues out there at gymnastics, and of course we had much of the same thing evolve out in track and field. There was a delay, and then the United States dropped the baton. Jeff Williams spoke to our Larry Rawson just a short time ago.
Jeff, tell us what happened.
Well, basically, the whole team, they ran well. They got out real good, and they were putting us out there where we had wanted to be, where we had predicted we would be in practice. When he hit the mark, I got off good. He hollered pull, and my hand went back, and I just felt the stick come in, and I immediately grabbed and pulled, but when my hand came up, the stick wasn't there, and I don't remember it hitting my thigh or if somebody bumped it or whatever.
Maybe you'd take a look at this and see if this refreshes your memory as to the exact moment of the exchange.
Okay, well, right here, you see it hollered pull, and my hand is going back, and right here, I reached, I felt like I had a good hand, but I just see the stick falling. It's falling before it even comes through, so evidently I didn't grab it correctly.
Did you actually think that you had your hand completely around it? Do you remember that split second?
I remember when the stick hit between my thumb and my index finger, I was grabbing at that point, and that's when the next instant, it just got away from me.
Thanks for taking a few minutes with us, Jeff.
All right, thanks, sir.
All right, let me pass along some information. We're obviously not going to be able to finish.
Stephanie Woods ready to go. She had to wait over 6.5 minutes to get on the beam. Here's what we have thus far. Gonzalez still has the lead. And add a score to that. Luisa Portocarrero, a 9.65. That's what they were waiting on. Here's Stephanie.
This is Stephanie's best shot at a gold medal in the individual events. Look at the strength move there, the flange. One of her most impressive qualities is her stretch. You can see those long legs and long arms, and she really uses them to her advantage. Here's her most critical pass in the entire routine, from 2 back handsprings to a layout step out.
She has really been very calm all week long, and considering this is her second international experience, she has not panicked. She has great poise on the balance beam.
Aerial front walkover. Now watch this, down to the balance beam. One of the requirements on the beam is to work low. I am very impressed with her ability to handle the pressure of international competition. Here's the dismount.
It'll be a double backflip.
Oh, perfect landing. That is crucial for winning a gold medal in this event.
She had a 9.775 in the optionals earlier in the competition. You think she's got that, at least that?
She also scored a 9.775 in the all-around, so she is very consistent on this event.
And congratulations from her coach, Cheryl Jarrett. Coaches her down there with her husband, Jim, in Austin, Texas.
This is a great angle to see this skill. 2 back handsprings in a row. Now watch how straight she is, right over the balance beam. Her hips are square, her shoulders are square. Showing acrobatic elements there. And then an aerial walkover down to a seated position. There you can see the flexibility. She really shows it off.
And her dismount was wonderful. This is a double backflip, tucked. Great reach. And boy, you can't land any better than this. Look at the chalk dust come flying off the mat.
She has led all the way through the compulsories, the optionals, the all-around, and now waiting for a score. And the score coming in a 9-7, so that will tie her with Leonette Gonzalez.
Oh, I am sorry. There's some politics going on here because that was a better routine than Leonette Gonzalez. It was much cleaner, much more polished, had more difficulty within the routine. That should have scored quite a bit higher than Leonette's.
The American women have 5 medals thus far. This is Kristen McDermott next on the beam, 14 years old. You mentioned politics. That's been a big word here as far as the judging is concerned.
Kristen has a very nice tumbling pass in this routine. It's very difficult. It has 4 elements in it, and that's very unusual.
Kristen trains at the Parquette's gymnastic program in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Originally from Brooklyn.
Now, here comes that pass. It's the first layout step out. Oh, she didn't go for the 4th element in that sequence, which is really just fine. She has plenty of difficulty in this routine without it. It's more important at this point to hit the routine. Off layout step. Oh, no. That's a difficult pass as well. Kristen is ranked 2nd on the junior national team. And I think we just saw a mistake really from youth and inexperience.
In order to win in the finals, the gymnasts always go for the big difficulty, and she was letting it all out.
And a double back, 1 step on the landing. What a shame she had the fall.
This is her favorite event, the beam, which most women won't admit to in any way, but she loves the beam, but as you mentioned, that inexperience may be showing up here.
Here's the first pass. You can see she's very straight on this.
Why does it
beam.
appear from this top that the beam's 4 inches wide? It looks like she's about 4 inches wide, too.
But she's 69 pounds.
Now here you can see she's just slightly off to the side and can't come up straight into the lunge position.
Kristen McDermott with the fall, so the lead now being shared by Stephanie Woods and Leonette Gonzalez, both of whom posted 9-7 on the beam. Now, as the coaches along with Kristen McDermott, we have a score on McDermott at 9-2-7-5, but the story is Stephanie Woods at 9-7, Leonette Gonzalez at 9-7. We have Stephanie Pierce, who just fell off the beam from Canada, and Odaime Jimenez of Cuba still remaining in the beam rotation.
And unfortunately, that fall occurred on her mount. She's got her entire balance beam routine to go with already 0.5 of a point off. She looks a bit shaken at this point, not taking everything to its full extension. Here's a very difficult turn. Double turn sideways to the beam. She usually is quite lovely on this event. She has a nice extension. You can see from her movement, she's a little bit panicked right now, which sometimes happens when they already have a fall. There's a lot of pressure. Here comes the dismount. Double back. Oh, no!
That's Stephanie Pierce. And so we have a tie for first. Let's go back to Havana. Here's Brent Musburger.
Okay. Ending her hopes for a gold medal in that discipline. And then in the men's 4x100-meter relay, Jeff Williams was taking the handoff, dropped.
Final event of the women's individual apparatus, the floor exercise. This is Mariana Constanada of Mexico, a 14-year-old. And what's happened thus far, the United States has captured 1 gold and 2 silver in the individual apparatus, as the United States has coming up Shelley Stack and Kristen McDermott in this floor exercise. Constanada from Guadalajara. She will be going to the Worlds in Indianapolis.
The Worlds, which will be September 6th through the 15th. It's a qualifier for the Olympics for next year.
And she ended with a tuck double back, a very nice routine, and a good start for this event finals on floor exercise.
Constanada from Mexico. So the United States has gotten a gold thus far in the competition today. Stephanie Woods, her 3rd gold of the competition, as she was able to tie for first of the beam that was just completed moments ago. And we're just underway in the 4th and final event of the day.
Her first tumbling run was a double back flip with a full twist. Full in and tucked back flip out. Well done.
This is a whip back right here. Back handspring with no hands, and she goes through to a double twist and just stays in bounds. Her final pass was a tuck double back. This was nicely done, particularly at the end of the routine.
And so Constanada has this underway here in the floor exercise. And the American women now with 6 medals, 3 of them coming today. And of course, as I just mentioned a while ago, Stephanie Woods with the gold. They had Hillary Anderson, also Ann Werowski capturing some silver. Has it been a good day for the American women?
I think it's been a great day. We saw a couple of misfortunes. Stephanie Woods did not have a good second vault, so she couldn't medal. And then Ann Werowski had an unfortunate fall in the uneven bars, which was an event she really was looking to win a gold medal on.
One of the big controversy was many thought Stephanie Woods should have gotten better in a 9-7 in the beam.
Oh, I would definitely say so. Leonette Gonzalez went up first. She's from Cuba and scored a 9.7, and I thought it was way too high at the time. And when Stephanie Woods came up with the best routine she's done all week long and scored a 9.7 as well, there's something going on.
All right, Kathy, let's catch him up now. This was the first. This was the vault. Luisa Parente winning the first of 2 gold from Brazil. Werowski with the silver, and Jennifer Wood of Canada with the bronze. And then Parente came right back in the uneven bars to win again. She's 5'5.5", very large for a gymnast. Hillary Anderson of the United States won the silver, tying Mylène Flurry of Canada. And then moments ago, Stephanie Woods with her 3rd gold of the competition, tying Leonette Gonzalez, the 12-year-old from Cuba. Then Luisa Portocarrero and Odaime Jimenez of Cuba in the 3rd position. But Leonette Gonzalez was a last-minute add in the beam. She actually took over for Indira Hernandez, who was originally scheduled to compete. This is Brenda Magana of Mexico, 14 years old, all 4'11", 81 pounds. She's also from Guadalajara.
And that's really closer to the size of the average world-class gymnast. You mentioned Luisa Parente, 5 feet 5 inches tall. That is so tall, but she's definitely a 2-event gymnast. Floor exercise is certainly one of the most entertaining of all the events. It's a place you can really get to know the gymnasts. They can really show off their personality, their style. One of the most difficult events in terms of all-out power is a full twisting double back. And another aspect of the floor exercise that so many people don't realize, this routine takes so much endurance and energy. But the gymnast is out there smiling, performing.
That's right. In men's gymnastics, we build in all the rest stops. In women's gymnastics, it's choreography. You got to keep going.
I always thought you guys took it easy. Setting up for her final tumbling run. It's a double back. Good landing.
Brenda Magana. Now, Constanada earlier had a 9.5, so the two young women from Mexico have gotten our floor exercise underway here. Magana following Constanada, who had the 9.5. Coming up later will be McDermott, along with Stack for the United States here from Santiago de Cuba.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're here at ringside.
Had a 9.475 by Magana. Constanada had a 9.5. Nunees, very quiet, very reflective, and watching her through the warm-ups and through the week, she really kind of stays to herself all the time.
I really only saw her break into a smile one time during the introduction, and of course with this audience, the crowd just went crazy, and she put on a big grin.
She has a big opening tumbling run. It's a double back with a full twist.
Very nicely done. She goes directly into her second tumbling run. A double twist.
Oh, almost went out of bounds there.
Keep in mind, these are the event finals. The top 8 from the team competition qualify into each event.
Nunees had a 9.5 in the optionals. That's the best she's done in the floor exercise.
And as you can hear, he certainly has the crowd support. Here's her final tumbling run. Double back. Oh, big step backwards. She stayed in bounds, but of course that will be a deduction.
Nunees from Cuba. One of the older performers. They are so young coming into this competition.
This tumbling run here is a double twist, laid out backflip with 2 twists, and you'll notice she almost steps out of bounds. If she goes out of bounds, it's 1/10 of a point deduction.
One of the requirements on the floor exercise is to do 3 dance elements in a row, 3 leaps, and of course that's what she just fulfilled right after that tumbling pass.
On the closing run, she's very high in this double backflip.
Look at the lift here. The problem she had was on the landing. Her hips were too far back and she couldn't get right into that lunge position.
Most of these Cuban gymnasts are from Havana, or they end up moving to Havana where their national team works out. Nunees is a native of Havana. She's 14. She weighs 100 pounds. She's 5'1". And her favorite gymnast is Ana Portocarrero, who was hurt, I shouldn't say hurt, underwent an appendectomy and was not able to perform here. We were really anxious to see her, but that's her best friend and her hero, so to speak, as far as gymnastics is concerned. Up next is going to be Luisa Portocarrero of Guatemala, who's just coming off of that bronze performance on the beam, where she scored a 9.65. But Nunees waiting, as we've seen so often throughout this competition. The wait has been long and sometimes very arduous, especially for the men yesterday. Took forever for them to go through their 6 rotations, and the battle was ensuing seemingly after every routine between the judges. What was the word you used, Kathy? I'll say it, politics.
No, there's certainly, we had a judge come up to us and say that they've got people over there talking to the judges, telling them what scores to give, because they said they absolutely did not want the Americans to win. They would tie them, but not let her win. And that's politics.
And there he is. That's Santiago Sam.
He has a new name. We just named him.
This guy has been here every night, blowing his whistle and leading the charge. And this Cuban crowd has been crazy. I mean, crazy. Here's Portocarrero. As I mentioned, she had the bronze coming off the beam, scoring a 9.65.
Every day, the arena is full nearly 2 hours before the competition. People get in here free, so they come early to get a good seat to see their Cuban heroes.
She is just beautiful on this event. I really enjoyed her balance beam routine. She's very flexible, very fluid in her movement, and very expressive. You can see even in the facial expression, she uses her eyes. Front flip, through to a tuck double back. Look at those leaps. Shows perfect flexibility in the air. This music makes me tired just to listen to it. Very fast. The middle tumbling run was a double twist. It's a nice combination pass. Down for 1 second, just in time to get ready for her third tumbling pass. Very nice, energetic routine. That's tough.
Luisa Portocarrero, who is now living in Canada, though competing for Guatemala, training with the Canadians. As thus far, Nunees has the lead here in the floor exercise with a 9.625. Constanada 9.5, Magana the 9.475, and Portocarrero scores still to come. So that is our floor exercise thus far. Let's go back now to Nicole Watson. Individual apparatus. The leader thus far is Bonitez of Cuba and Nunees of Cuba. So the two Cubans 1-2. In third right now is Portocarrero of Guatemala. There's Nunees, 9.625. Bonitez just a moment ago finishing her routine at 9.6. And Kristen McDermott, we don't have a score on her. We're waiting on her. And now a 9.5 for Kristen. And we're going now to Romina Plataroti out of Argentina, the 1990 junior national champion for Argentina. She finished third in the all-around. She had the bronze.
She finished fourth in the event finals on the uneven bar, so just out of medal count there. So I know she's really looking forward to this routine. She's also very dramatic, very expressive in this routine, particularly for a young gymnast. Opens with a pike double back. Her first two tumbling passes are not that difficult. She has a nice surprise at the end. She really performs, uses the music. Another double back. Oh no, a step out of bounds. Of course, that's a 1/10 of a point deduction for the going out of bounds. And another slight deduction for the big step. Now watch this. This is a triple twist. Let's see if she gets it around. Very nicely done. Even better than in the all-around competition. Nice routine. Unfortunately, that middle tumbling pass went out of bounds.
14-year-old from Argentina, Plataroti. But the lead that has to be overtaken is by Nunees, a 9.625, with Bonitez next at 9.6 for the Cubans.
Her opening tumbling run was a piked double backflip, which means her legs are straight. She kind of lays it back. It's not that high, but boy, she lands beautifully. On her second tumbling run, this is the double backflip with her legs bent. This is tucked.
You can see where she gets into trouble right here. She goes too far back, just like she did in the first pass. And unfortunately, took a large step, and it was right out of bounds.
The triple twist at the end was quite good. It's hard to make this all the way around.
Plataroti of Argentina. Let's send it back again to Nicole Watson.
Wow, the gymnasts keep getting younger and more impressive.
Let's go on to Santiago de Cuba for the conclusion of the women's individual apparatus with Gary Bender.
Welcome back to Santiago de Cuba. Just moments ago, Shelley Stack was brilliant on her floor exercise. We're awaiting her score. And both Kathy Johnson and Bart Connor marveled at the way she hit everything, every tumbling pass. But first, we're going to look at Georgina Bonitez of Cuba, who currently is in second place in the standings. This is moments earlier. She scored a 9.6.
This was a very entertaining routine. She opened with a whip back, through to a pike double back. But the level of difficulty is not as high as the top competitors on this event. As you can really see, she is going all out in this routine. Facial expression, the drama.
Shelley Stack has won the gold. It's just in, a 9.7. So she's won the gold. What a way to finish the gymnastics competition.
And she finished with a double twist. Very nice routine, though it lacked the difficulty necessary to win a gold medal.
So Bonitez had a 9.6. Shelley Stack has been congratulated. Now we're going to show you her routine. I thought it was one of the highlights of the entire week. She just hit everything.
She was so disappointed the other day in the all-around when she was a little sloppy on her last tumbling run. But boy, did she hit it tonight.
She even said, she goes, well, I'm just going to win floor exercise.
And she did. About 5 minutes ago is when this happened.
What a performer she is.
I haven't seen Shelley look this sharp quite a while. Everything is on. Watch this double turn coming up.
The Cuban crowd has been sitting on their hands all week long when the Americans perform. It's as if Shelley's going to say, you're going to applaud for me. I guarantee it.
And this is a fun pass. Double 2.5 twist, right to a punch front, tumbles back in the other direction. And her most critical pass is this one right here. It's a double back, and this is where she lost a little bit in the all-around. She landed a little low on this one, but watch this.
Shelley Stack, who was on the '88 Olympic team, winning the gold. Nunees the silver, Bonitez the bronze. The United States with 2 gold and 2 silver tonight, as they did an outstanding job of the women's individual.
Close followers of the sport to understand somebody so